All right, Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. So, for these first three chapters, we have been covering the philosophical background of this uh, course. Basically, the title of this chapter 2, which we are discussing today, is The Moral Foundations of Knowledge. Um, and this is in conflict with one of the most strongly held beliefs of Western intellectuals. And this belief is that there is such a thing as objective, value free knowledge. In fact, Max Weber, one of the most prominent philosophers of the 20th century, and basically the one who shaped social science, he said that social science should be value free. Now, what I would like to say is there's no such thing as value free knowledge. And actually, it's a very simple argument. About God, we have three positions. One is that God exists. That's the deist position, those who believe in God. Then there is the atheist position, which says that God does not exist. And then there is the agnostic position, which says that I do not know if God exists or does not exist. Now, how does this affect knowledge? Well, basically, one thing to understand is that there is so much knowledge that no one will ever get all of it. Even if we look at all of the books in the libraries, so there are millions and millions of books. So if I even spend a lifetime studying and reading, day and night, 24/7, I will never get all of it. So when we look for knowledge, we must prioritize. What am I going to learn? What am I not going to learn? What I'm going to learn is going to be very, very small percentage of what has already been produced. And what is every day being produced is even more. So this means that we have to prioritize knowledge. We have to say, this is important and that is not important. So now the question is, what should you prioritize? Now, if you believe that there is God and that He wants some things from us, then that is obviously the highest priority because we want to live our lives according to what God wants, because otherwise there is life after death and there is judgment. And so real success is success on the day of judgment. So, from the point of view of the deist, it's obviously that all knowledge is based on values, and the values are those which are given by God. Now, for the atheist, he says there is no God. All right. Again, he has to learn how we should live our life. So, some of the things which follow almost immediately from this is that we should try to prioritize life of this world. We should try to get maximum pleasure, which is what the economists say. We can go after power and profits. And even Allah Ta'ala has said in the Quran that gold and silver and horses and women, the pleasures of this, luxuries of this world are made pleasant to you. So these are the things that we will pursue. But of course, to say that this is value free is stupid. This is not value free. We have, in the case of God, we have values that success is on day of judgment. For those who deny God, success lies in this world and is defined by, the things which we want to get. So again, there is a value. And then for the agnostics, well, if somebody doesn't know whether God exists or not, then this is the most important question. Everything else depends how you spend your life, whether it is in obedience to God or whether it is in disobedience. or whether it's obedience to your nafs, uh, everything you do depends on whether or not there is God. So, in that case, your first priority should be to find out the answer to this question, because the answer will determine how you live. So, again, this prioritized knowledge, there's lots of discussions about how we can find out whether or not God exists. And so, these things are the ones that you should give the maximum importance to in terms of knowledge. So, none of these things are actually directly concerned with science. So, what I'm saying is that all knowledge is based on values, and there is no value free knowledge. The only thing you can say is that in the Western tradition, because they started building their knowledge after rejecting Christianity, they had no obvious source for values. So instead of displaying the values that they had, they suppressed and concealed them. For example, economics is pretends to be a value-free science, but if you look at it closely, it's preaching that you should be greedy, you should be selfish, you should lie if it helps your personal interests, and so on. So these are all values. They are very bad values, but they're still values. So all of social science is built on values. Now, it might be that, okay, this is social science, but what about statistics? Isn't statistics just a branch of mathematics? And if so, how can mathematics have values? And that's what I am trying to show here, that statistics is actually used in a particular way. Statistics is used to win arguments. It's used to get data and use it to prove a point. It is not used in the arbitrary. One doesn't do calculations like mathematics that, okay, the 17th prime is 97 or something like that. So it's not just a random collection of facts. Statistics is used for argument. So that's basically the goal of this course, is to show that statistics is a branch of rhetoric. So when you use statistics, you should learn how to make arguments, and you should learn how to make counter arguments. You should learn how, when people are making arguments with statistics, how you can break those arguments. And so far, we have learned already a lot of important skills. Basically, at this point, you have enough knowledge to go and break. You take any published article which is based on econometrics and statistics. If it is looking at numbers alone, if it doesn't look at the real world mechanism, and most of the articles that we read, they are like this. So they take a couple of series and they run regressions and they conclude that X, Y, and Z leads to economic growth. Now, what I'm saying is that this cannot be said. You can't get real conclusions by looking at numbers alone. So what do you need to do? You look at actual instances of growth. You look at history, you look at qualitative information, you look at which industry was growing, what was happening in the cement sector, what was happening in the automobile sector, what was happening. And by looking at this real world data, you can determine the causes of growth, which you cannot do by looking at numbers alone. So whenever you have argument made by numbers alone, you can dispute it, you can argue against it by looking at the real world. And normally, statistical arguments don't deal with the real world mechanism, because that's not part of the statistics methodology. So almost the vast majority of articles published in econometrics and statistics reach wrong conclusions. Now, some of them should not be taken as a universal error. There are some cases, you see, econometrics is built on assumptions, statistics is also built on assumptions. There are some cases in which the assumptions match reasonably closely to the real world situation, in which case you will get correct answers. most of the times the assumptions being made in econometrics are not correctly matched, not well matched to the real world situation. And so you're getting a bad conclusion, a wrong conclusion. So, but you need to know what the assumptions are, how you check whether or not these are matched. But mostly I can say with some confidence, because I've looked at the field, and that most of what is done is wrong. And so you can get much better results when we start to understand how to do real statistics. And this is what we hope to show in this course. So as I said in the email that I sent earlier, that we will have, this is the last of the philosophical lectures. And from the next lecture onwards, we will actually start doing statistics, data analysis, spreadsheets, and so on. And that will give us a more clear of idea about how we actually do data analysis and how we actually construct arguments using data. So with that, I was hoping actually that we will get more time for conversation and discussion. Last time the presentations by themselves took the whole hour and a half. No, I think there was some time for discussion at the end. So you don't have to wait for the end. We can have discussion after each section. That way people will, when an issue is fresh in their minds, they can discuss it. So let's start with section A, which is with Saud and Uzma. And Saud, can you do the presentation or turn it over to somebody who's in your group? Just let me see.
Yeah, thank you so much, sir. Acha, from our group, Mr. Noman Majid will present the questions. Noman, are you there?
Assalamu alaikum, sir. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you.
Okay. Okay, sir. As per the group discussion of participants, like from our group, 2 or 3 people participated in question answers. The first one is Noman Siddiqui. Can you see my screen? Or let me just reshare my screen.
No, you haven't done share screen yet. Can you share your screen? Okay, now we got it.
Okay, sir. Okay, sir. First of all, thank you for this course. And as per the group participants, like we have received answers from 3 people in our group. First one is Imran Munir, second is Noman Siddiqui, and third one is me. So I am just contributed a little bit. So also I am going to present this presentation. So we must move towards the first question, that is, explain the dramatic contrast between the positive epistemology and Islamic theories of knowledge. So what we had concluded upon this chapter, like the contrast is between the positivist as well as the Islamic theories is fundamentally about the exclusion or inclusion of values. Values in terms of epistemology, like basically it depends upon the knowledge. Like the Western knowledge or Western epistemology only regards facts-based knowledge, while they are value-free in nature. But in terms of Islamic epistemology, gives the higher weightage to moral-based values. Like they also, like in Islamic epistemology, we also included the fact-based knowledge, but it's not just single thing that we are including. That is also based on some other factors as well. So the third thing that we had concluded in Islamic epistemology considers knowledge to be either beneficial or unbeneficial, as well as the beneficial knowledge is one that brings us closer to Allah, Jalla Jalaluhu, and unbeneficial knowledge is one takes us away from the worship of Allah. And the last one is that the positive epistemologies purely deals with the how and not the why. These are the things that we had concluded regarding answering this first question.
All right, let me just make a small comment.
Yeah, sure.
Basically, the idea that there is value-free knowledge is wrong, and but it's hidden very subtly. So, for example, I say here is a fact: there are 5,000 trees in this forest. Okay, so this is purely an objective fact. It seems like there are no values in it, but uh, why did I choose this fact from the thousands of facts that I could have said about this forest? So this choice is determined by values. I think that this fact is important, and many other facts about the factor about the forest are not important. So even though I'm just citing a number and it doesn't seem like there are any values, in fact, I chose this fact from among many, many facts that I could have said. And this choice is based on a value, but this value is hidden. You don't know why I am saying this. Maybe I'm saying this to say that there are too few trees and we need to grow more or something or the other. But I'm trying to make an argument. So this is the thing, that values are concealed, and it seems like uh, the facts are value free, but in fact it is not. And if we discuss, if we dig, we can uncover those values. So you can continue now
Exactly.
into the next question.
Exactly. Okay, thank you. Okay, the next question is like, give an example, preferably not from the text itself, where a statistic is presented as an objective and indisputable fact about reality. Then show the hidden values in statistics and find a counter argument to the concealed argument being made. The book How to Live with Statistics contains several such arguments, but examples are widely available in our daily lives. So, from what we had concluded from our daily lives as an answer to this question, like we can just take an example: the prices of commodities is directly proportional to an increase in petroleum prices. While the increase in petroleum prices may have little effects on the overall cost, it becomes the reason for increasing prices. Let's see, the relationship between the commodity and petroleum prices becomes a rules that the actual effect. Similarly, certain medical readings like blood sugars tests, blood pressures, body mass index, etc., have been seen as standard readings, while such standards may vary from time to time and place to place. That is the first argument we made. The other argument we had, the average wage of a given city or country. Now, what is not apparent if the average fee is calculated using a mean value rather than a median one. Instead of mean, we are using a median as a term. So, for example, a city may have a large group or of low-paid workers, but a small group of millionaires living in the city would make it appear that the average wage itself is very high, which hides the true reality to the state of earnings of the general population in the city. A median value would give us more accurate value or more accurate assessment, like what exactly the situation right now in the country or in a city is actual it is. So these are the arguments we had made for the second questions that we had.
Okay, this seems fine.
Okay, sir, thank you. Okay, the third one we had question is, if you are studying at university student or have a previously studied at one, think of criteria and weights which would make our university shine in comparison with other universities. So as an answer to this question, what we had feels like one of the criteria in my university was the number of papers published by the faculty in a preferred journal. While I always had a high opinion like of the preferred journal with intrinsic quality mechanism, I had also observed and experienced the way people, by virtue of their contracts, affiliation, and university standing, able to publish their sub-quality work as well. And the work concept of preferred and impact factor had some innate biases, I suppose. Like sometimes what we had, like sometimes the faculty members or the students have some relations with the journals, owners. So these are the issues comes up. And the other argument we had made to this question, that is increase the number of students graduating, lowering the bar of passing, which gives the impressions that the graduation rate is high based on the academic excellence. And the third comment on this question we had made, like we hire professors from prestigious universities who are widely known in the public sphere. This would give the impressions that the staff is of the highest caliber or knowledge, but in reality would not give an indication of how good the teaching is. Like mostly the case comes up like we hire the intellectual teachers or professors from the prestigious universities, but they are working in admin staff or in just working as a policy makers in a university, but they are not going to teach the students. So these are the issues we just highlighted as the things we just
All
comes
right.
up
So
to this question.
actually, the question that I had asked is different from the what you understood from the question. So you are saying how you can make your university shine, but I was actually asking which university are you at? Can you tell me the name of your university?
Pakistan Institute of Development Economics, currently enrolled in
Okay,
MPhil
fine.
economics. Yeah.
Okay, so you are in Pied. Okay, so in that case, it is certainly true that refereed publications are high in your university. So suppose
Exactly.
somebody is studying at Faisalabad Agricultural University. So what criteria could they use? They could say that agriculture is the highest, is one of the big economic landmarks, and so for Pakistan, it is very important to do agricultural research. So we should evaluate that, give it a higher weight, and by giving higher weight to agricultural publications, then they could make their university have a high rank. So what I'm saying is that because each university is unique, you can always find something on which that university is doing well relative to others. And by making up the index properly, you can make your university come out ahead. All right,
Exactly.
so you can go on to the next one. This is
Okay,
fine.
sir. The last one and the fourth question is like, that is a long detailed question. Like a course is given at a university that teaches certain technical skills. Prior to the course, all students are given an examination that tests their prior knowledge of these skills. After the course, students are given a final exam that tests what they know after completing the course. And one could evaluate the value of the course according to the final exam scores or according to the difference between the two scores. Is there a correct way to measure the value of the course or the efficiency of the teacher or the course? Which of the measure is better? Suppose we were selecting students for two tasks. For which type of task would the students with the highest score on the final exams be a better choice? For which type would the student with the highest difference between final exams and the initial exams be a better choice? So for this question, we had made three comments. The first one is, as the answer to this question, the difference between the two scores seems more viable because the actual level of progression may be observed. One can then easily see with the final exam the improvement the student has made based on his initial results. Like if the teacher is taking a pre-course test, then he or she or would be able to approach the course in a more informed way. Like pre-tests could also work as a need assessment of the students, and this can be lead to the course being adopted to fill those gaps. So the course itself can be more dynamic and rather than static, and be adopted based on the current crop of the students. And like we also can say that the teacher effectiveness can also be graduated or gauged through different test scores. So in last, what would can say this suitability of this task, like the students with the highest marks could be well suited to being a teaching assistant to the course due to his mastery of the object's subject matter. The student with the best difference would be suited to the task, where you required someone with no background in a subject to very quickly become proficient in said task or subject matter or for the subject matter expert, we can just use the student after doing the pre-test for the qualification before proceeding with the course or subject on which we are interested in teaching. And the last one, the tasks that are progressive in nature may require understanding the difference in scores so that the actual state of the student can be discerned, whereas the tasks that ultimately screen out some from the others may require summative results. So these are the things we had concluded around the fourth question, like what does the pre-test are helpful or pre and post tests are helpful, or just the post test, like after completing the course the process is
Okay, I
helpful.
think this
So
is good,
but
and you have answered correctly. There was a reason for asking this question. The reason is that there is no correct answer. I mean, that's what I was trying to say. That there is no true measure of the value of the course. For one task, one of the measures will give you a best student, the one who is the best learner, and for the other task, the one who has the most skill. So these two things are both valuable characteristics, and there can be other measures as well. And so basically, the idea that there is a best student, this is wrong. There is not a best student. The best student for some tasks, and given on the task, given different tasks, different students might be best, even for the same course and even for the same state of learning. So
exactly, sir.
this is something which is not realized when we say, see, when you ask which one university is the best, people assume that there is an answer. What I'm trying to say is that there is no answer to this question. If we ask which student had the best performance in this class, there is no correct answer. There may be a number of different answers according to different criteria.
Exactly, sir.
All right.
Thank you.
So we can go on to the next group, Naveed Khaja and Naz Javed.
Assalamu alaikum, sir.
Unless there is some other questions or issues on these set of questions, I have been just. Is there anybody else who would like to say something about these questions? All right. Well, let's go on.
Assalamu alaikum, sir.
Wa alaikum assalam.
Here is Khwaja Naveed. This presentation is from the group B for the second chapter. And in this presentation, Mahaz Javed and Hassan Askari has collaborated with me. So we are going to start it. The title of this second part is Foundations of Knowledge. And the first question which was posed to us was, I think, okay. Is my screen visible here?
Yes, your screen is visible, but it is not
Okay,
moving.
sir. It is not moving. Okay. I may. Has
Yeah,
it?
now you got the first slide.
Okay. Okay, sir. The Quran has quoted a story about two persons, and one of them claimed that I have been blessed with more wealth and children than you. So, in the question, it has been asked that this is a purely numerical comparison. What are the values concealed within the cited statistics? So, in fact, there are values concealed in this statement because many theories have been proposed for the pursuit of goals in life, and the person who is claiming that he is better than the other person, he actually claim it on the basis of utilitarianism laden pleasure seeking model. Max Weber has concluded in a book that uh, after the Protestant takeover in Christianity, there occur a problem that uh, the blessing of wealth to someone was taken as the blessing of Allah or the God. So therefore, they competed in wealth accumulation with one another. And after the secularization, which they called as the Renaissance, there uh, emerged some different theories like of Stuart Mill's utilitarianism and Sigmund Freud pleasure seeking. So actually, this statement encompasses all of these concepts. Um, in terms of achieving higher purpose of life, men should not rest for the ornaments of life of this world. This is the counter argument and the counter perspective which Islam gives to us. The man who claim it, he the wealth and children in numbers, he claim it to be objective. It seems to be objective, but they are not objective because uh, one strive for the acquiring of these things uh, because he think it is important. So a kind of subjectivity is inbuilt and embedded in this statement. This not an objective statement. The second question,
Well, I would like to say before you go that no, it's not that the numbers are not objective. The numbers are objective. If somebody says
okay,
I have more gold than I have 10 bars of gold and you have only 2 bars of gold and I have more gold, this is completely objective. This is a fact. But why is this fact being mentioned? So you see, why this fact is being mentioned because he says, from this I conclude that I have more blessings. Now this is the value judgment. If if the person had no concern with gold, the gold was just nobody says that I have more grass than you do. In my lawn there are 5,000 blades of grass, and in your lawn there are 2,000 blades of grass because it doesn't matter. So when you say that I have more gold, then you're saying this is something which matters, and that this is the fact. So that's why, yani, that the numbers are objective, but also the use of those numbers reflects that there is a priority being given to this item, and this priority is a value. Okay, so go ahead
okay, sir.
next.
The second question is that if you are head of a bureau of statistics and allowed to collect any type of data, if you are interested in worldly prosperity, what kind of data you would collect? If you define real success as that which will happen on Judgment Day, what kind of data you would collect? So here we have been given a choice of two kinds of data. The first one would be the data which reflects the mundane gains or benefits. Uh, that is kind of GDP or gross national product or growth rate or human development index, etc., which shows the measurement of collective worldly prosperity. While on the other hand, if one is interested in real success, that is the success on the day of judgment, the type of data collected will revolve around higher order values. That is inclusive wealth, genuine progress, happy planet, knowledge acquiring, inclusive social norms, brotherhood, justice and equality. And all of these would be based upon the Islamic epistemology and ontology. So these would be the data which we would collect if we believe in the day of judgment.
Yes, so basically what I'm trying to say here is that the type of data collected reflects our values, even though you see the numbers we measure are somehow objective, but still why we collected those numbers reflects a value, a prioritization, and we do that because we think it's important. Now, for example, the Quran says, وَلَا يُحُضُّ عَلَىٰ طَعَامِ الْمِسْكِينِ, they do not urge the feeding of the poor. So the Quran tells us that it is very important to feed the poor. So we should have a statistics on the number of hungry people in Pakistan if we want to collect the data. That would be the most important thing that we need. But there is no data on the number of hungry people. There is some data on malnutrition, but it's not, not part of the standard collection of data which is done routinely. So our values dictate the type of data that we collect. Okay, so next, go ahead.
Okay, sir. Screen here just. The third question is, if you are among top 1% and benefit enormously from current economic system, if you're interested in protecting and expanding your worldly wealth, what kind of statistics you want to collect and what type of statistics you would suppress? So definitely a type of statistic which would be preferred for collection would be that which highlights the collective data, which like a kind of national level data, which would hide inequality prevailing in the country, that is GDP per capita, HDI, purchasing power, etc. And the proportion of wealth distribution, literacy rate, inequality, income of different groups, it would be suppressed at par.
Yes, this is correct.
The last question, which was a priori being termed as difficult, was actually difficult. It is, if human lives are of infinite value, how could we create a labor market where hours of our lives are bought and sold for money? So we have collected some distributive thoughts about it. It would not be that much conclusive, but the main thing is that labor market and labor demand was observed during the Industrial Revolution. Smith equated labor with machinery as a substitutive factor, which is actually the utilitarianism approach. He calculated it on the basis of utility, which labor leverage to the production function. And labor theory of value was introduced, whereby Marx equated it in terms of his materialistic philosophy. In one paper, I have studied that the Khaldun have argued that the prices of a product are created from three combinations of elements, that is salary, profit, and tax. So these are some kind of different thoughts. Uh, one In one paper I have came across regarding the informal economy. So the second part of that question was, if large scale economic activity could be made possible in terms of these arguments. So I argue that on the basis of that paper, that informal economy can make it true if the institutional settings are made congruent to it through the distributive and flexible arrangements of labor.
Yes. Well, there are a number of solutions. One is the Marxist solution, which says that the government owns all of the means of production, and that was rejected by Muslim scholars. But it is a possible solution that the collective property of the whole state is the big factories. Now, Rafi Amiruddin just asked about the production in Medina. The thing is that the Industrial Revolution created a new type of production where large numbers of people are required to jointly work in the factories to create very large amounts of product. So this kind of thing did not exist in Medina. So we cannot go back to that examples. But basically, one of the collection of economists has said that labor-owned firms are one possible Islamic answer, that the laborers actually own the firm. And so then all of that which is produced by them collectively, and then they distribute the earnings from the firm among themselves according to some set of rules, which is not necessarily compensation for the labor, It might be that, okay, everybody works together and then the firm takes care of the needs of the laborers. It provides them with schools and with health. This is something like this happened in Japan, where the big firms hired laborers, and they said that the firm is like a family, and so they provided for all their laborers from top to bottom, from the people who were the sweepers to the highest executives. They provided education and health and housing, so all of the needs were taken care of, and then some salary also. So these are some ways in which you can create a market without actually buying and selling human lives. All right.
Okay, sir. Thank you.
So no, there are many papers on this, but I don't have the references right now. All right. So next, I guess this group is finished. So we go to group C, which is Lisa and Mubashir. Yes. Which one is presenting now? Lisa? Is Lisa present?
Yes, sir. She had raised her hand.
Okay. So where is? I don't see it. Can you? Okay. So you are there? Yeah. Okay.
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Thank you, Professor. And we are from Group C. Would like to try to answer the fourth question. First question regarding to the logical positivism. We give some examples from your own life about how guesses about what cannot be observed were a very important part of the decision that you took. They show that logical positivism is not a good guide to knowledge, useful for real life. So one thing that we discussed this morning regarding to the unobservable, the things that is not cannot be observed but can influence the action. First is the example is the spirit in doing charity, and the reason for doing charity we cannot see the reason. I mean our expectation in when we do the action, but we expect.
Yes, this is true. The niya
Yes.
is not seen, and the niya determines the value of the action, but it is known only to Allah. Yes.
Yes. The second question about the explain how logical positivism has shaped education in the 20th century, and what LP considers knowledge is talk and what LP considers as not knowledge is not talk. So explain how this approach has shaped our own mind in terms of making certain subjects appear important and others appear unimportant, even though this ranking of important does not reflect the importance of the subject to the conduct of our life. So we see that the syllabus define our scope of knowledge, and it is shape our mind and our priority. So we then prioritize and see a subject more important than other based on the syllabus that is given and taught during our education. For example, the English language was taught since very young, when we maybe since in our kindergarten, our elementary school, we have been taught, and it is being like kind of informed to us that it is very important to get a better job and to get an international exposure. So we categorize and we see that this subject is more important than other. Like for example, we compare to Arabic language that in fact it is more important for Muslim to be we need to learn.
Yes, basically one of the things that are actually important is learning how to make friends, learning how to do ihsan, isar, sacrifice, learning the good characteristics which have been defined in the Quran, how to be a good person, how to be a better human being, learning the codes of conduct. These things are not part of education because they are not knowledge in LP. Okay, go on.
Yes. And the third question, the LP emphasizes appearance and measurement and ignores reality. This emphasis has led to evaluation of teachers based on student evaluation and objective measures such as publication counts and impact factors. Explain the differences between numbers of student rankings and the real impact of teacher upon his/her students, and explain the difference between the unmeasurable quality of research and the measurable publication count. So we see that the student ranking is based on the theory, the syllabus oriented. So meaning that student may be good in terms of theoretical, but sometimes not in terms of practical and the behavior. So we see that the real impact of teacher is when they can improve the behavior of the student. So they can later on be after graduate can be someone that can give benefits to the society and the people around them. The second thing is about the quality of the measurable. So the publication usually measure about the number of publications, but the number of publication itself does not means that it gives the impact for the society, because it is not directly give the to solve the issue in the society. So in terms of quality of the research, we see that the real impact is about how the research can give the solution to the society to address the issue in the society, and it can be implemented.
Yes, one paper, or not even a paper, one solution to a real problem, which can be sometimes done by going out in the field, but maybe you can't write a paper about it, is of greater value than 100 publications which just are meaningless. And similarly, for student rankings, I know that there were many students who were very angry with me while they were taking the course, because I was making them do so much work. And many years after the course, they came back and told me that this course was the best course I ever taken, and so on. So the student ranking which you get may not reflect the impact on the teacher, on the
Yes.
student. Okay, go
Thank
ahead.
you, Prof. And the fourth section, between the mean and the median, which of the two measures that will be useful in hiding the inequality, and why do you think that one is easily available where the other is not? So I think it is also related with a previous group mentioned about the means can hide the inequality. So it is preferable for those who are the powerful and those who have no political reasons to make it is easily available and can be accessed by most people. But we see that the median, because it is not influenced by the outliers, it is more useful.
Yes, today all over the world, the statistics department publishes your GNP per capita. It doesn't publish the median income. And the median income is a better measure, but it's not used because of political reasons. And actually, the data is available in the statistics department to allow you to approximate the median income, but that would be very low. And you see today, the increase in inequality is astonishingly the very few people, about less than 10 people now have half of the wealth of the world. So numbers which show the increasing inequality would be harmful to the power of the rich.
Yes.
So that's why these numbers are not easily available, not used. Okay,
Thank you, Prof.
so that's good. Thank you, Lisa. Next group is Amina and Sevinch Nurgul. Who is going to do the presentation this time? Nurgul?
Yes, Prof, I'll present. Let me share the screen.
I met Nurgul in Istanbul last week when I was presenting the conference. On my blog, I have the conference talks. Well, I haven't put them up yet, but on previous ones. Okay, Nurgul.
Assalamu alaikum.
Alaikum assalam.
I am from Group D, and there are only my answers. So I'll be happy if any other group members will comment on my answers. First question, should teachers be aware of the intentions of the students in taking their classes? Has any teacher asked you why you are getting an education? Have you thought about this question yourself? Is it to acquire money, jobs, fame, expertise, skills, or do you have some other intention? How can you discover your own true intentions? How will the intentions differ depending on whether success of this world or success on the day of judgment is the goal of study? Here is my answer. Teachers do not necessarily need to know about the students' intentions, but need to teach the right intention in acquiring knowledge that is for the sake of Allah. None of my teachers asked me what my purpose was in getting an education. I often consider this question myself and try to keep my intention as clean as possible. I aim to reach true knowledge and serve humanity in the best way using this knowledge, which I believe provides a benevolent life in life and hereafter. I further realize that it is difficult to be sure I have the true intention in my heart, but we can explore if we have the proper purpose when we observe our behaviors. For example, when I shifted my field from economics to Islamic economics, I haven't thought about what others consider about me, my fame or my status in their eyes, because my thinking was to please God, not people who have prejudices against Islam, etc. If we have the required niyyah, God's pleasantness from us, we can reach success in this world and the hereafter. Second question.
So basically, my goal was to show that the Western education is not constructed by doing a methodology which would be suitable for an Islamic education. If we were going through an Islamic education, this is the first question. Innamal a'mal bin niyat. This teacher should have the intention of helping the students do good amal, become better people, and become make progress, make spiritual progress. And the students should have the same intention. And this should be clarified, because if the intention is wrong, then the amal will be wrong. But because we are in Western education system, this question is never asked. The students can think about it on their own, but it is not part of the educational system. But in an Islamic education, this should be the most important part of the education. All right, go ahead.
Prof, is it as in Islamic education? Also, I haven't came across actually
Yes.
in my PhD,
Yes.
or I mean in other
This
places
is true that
like
in the
in labs or
madrasa, etc., and in the Imam Hatib schools,
yeah.
everyone is the original systems of Islamic education were destroyed.
Yeah.
This is for sure. And so the new systems that had been built are a mixture of the classical methods and the Western methods. And many things that we are doing in the madrasas, for example, in the old madrasas, there were no classes. The system was organized around teachers. Students would go and sit with teachers and learn something. There was no, okay, he's in grade 1 and he's in grade 2, and now he takes an exam and he goes to grade 3. This kind of thing didn't exist in our system. It was very different methodology.
Yeah,
So
absolutely.
the original systems of Islamic education does not does not really exist.
Mhm.
Yeah, and what Amina just commented is also true, that even though nobody really asked about the intention, but if you test, you are a very unusual student, Nurgul. The vast majority of students are here because they want to get jobs and make money. So the intentions of the students are to get an education, to get jobs, to make money. It is not even to learn knowledge. They just want to pass the course and get grades so that they can get jobs. Acquiring knowledge, they don't really want to do the work to get knowledge because it's not necessarily important for getting the job. Yeah, okay.
Yeah, second question. Do the methods of education currently in use, as you have experienced, engage our hearts or our heads? Does the learning given in our classes enter our hearts? Is it possible to teach subjects in a way that engages both the heart and the head? Why is this not done in a modern university education? What will be the benefits of engaging the heart in the educational process? How could this be done in some subjects where it is not normally done? And my answer is the current methods of education engage our heads majorly. However, among them, only a few, the actual knowledge may enter our hearts. I think it can satisfy both the head and heart once knowledge is the absolute truth. It is not done in modern university education because hearts are not the main focus. They do not have to be satisfied. There is no such authority as heart to be convinced, in fact. Once the heart is also engaged in the educational process, there will be no conflict between the heart and the head. The heart is only satisfied with zikr of Allah. Hence, if God is included in knowledge, hearts will be engaged also. Third question.
Yes, I just wanted to say that the hadith about useful knowledge, ilmun nafi, says that how do you recognize ilmun nafi? You recognize it because the useful knowledge enters the heart. So this is a marker of useful knowledge according to Islamic.
Yeah. Third question, explain the difference between learning the facts of history and acquiring an understanding of the reasons for historical change. Why and how does logical positivism encourage a focus on the observable facts of history and also discourages investigation into the deeper reasons for the changes taking place in history? Learning the facts, my answer is learning the facts of history tells us what has happened in the past, while understanding the reasons for historical change made us know how history came from a certain point of time to another and the way it is shaped, which may be more important than the results. Logical positivism encourages a focus on observable facts of history because it only focuses on appearance. On the other hand, the actual knowledge that comes from the bottom or insights may not support the appearance.
Yes, this is the positivist history is just a collection of facts. You memorize the dates, what happened on 1792, and then so and so one, and so on. But the collection of facts doesn't have any meaning. To understand, for example, why have the Muslims been in decline, how the spirituality has changed. These are all going into hidden things which are not obvious, not there on the surface. And so you cannot understand history because the real causes of what happened, the condition of the people, which Allah Ta'ala mentions in the Quran, this is not there on the surface, not there in the facts, the observable facts. You can learn it by looking into the hearts of the people, but and you can learn it by making deductions from what you see in the writings. So understanding history requires going into the deeper unobservables which drive history.
Definitely. The fourth question. This section mentions some techniques that students can use to acquire deeper understanding of the materials they are studying. One of these is articulation, explaining in your own words concepts that you are learning to other people. Take any one of the concepts from the course, from this section, and try to explain it to someone else. Report on your experiences and how the process of explaining to others help you acquire a deeper understanding. I attempted to do this by explaining to one of my friends the concept of meaning of life, but I haven't still get any comment or response.
Well, Nurgun, it's the process of explaining which leads to understanding. You don't necessarily need to get a response.
Yeah, I mean, I
And,
have
this-
already experienced this before in other concepts when I tried to explain to people
Because
around
when you
me.
try to explain to other
Definitely.
people, then you have to clarify. You have to say it in clear words, and you have to try to make people understand what they don't believe. So it means that you're forced to think more clearly. That helps in giving you better understanding. So most of the concepts that we are teaching in this course will be highly unfamiliar to people who have not taken this course. So one of the ways to try to get better understanding is to try to explain them to others. And you don't have to wait for a response. You get understanding in the process of explaining.
I waited
right.
till now.
No, but you don't need the response. The understanding increases by explaining. So you get the.
Yeah, absolutely.
All right. So let's go to I think it's the last group now. Tasir and Asad al-Islam. I also met Asad al-Islam in Istanbul last week. He was my host in the conferences. We had a talk at his university, which is Ibn Khaldun, and also at Sabahattin Zaim University in Istanbul. Okay, so go ahead. Who's here from that group? Asad or Tasir? Who's here? Anybody here? No Asad, no Tasir? I don't see them. Does anybody have a copy of the book open? I can get one from somewhere. Let's see. Why was no one expecting this class? I thought I explained that we will have the class on 3 weeks later. All right, I have pulled up the questions. Let's see. I'm going to put these questions in the chat box, and then we can just have a general discussion. All right, so the first question is, what should the goal of an educational system be? Should it be to produce human resources or human beings? What are the advantages and disadvantages of one or the other? And what has been the goal of the educational system through which you have acquired your education? So anybody who is interested in answering, floor is open. Okay, Faisal Munir, you can answer. Can you unmute yourself, or do I need to
Yes,
do
sir.
that? Great.
So can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you.
Well, as far as Islamic teaching or the concept of deen is concerned, the education system should bring overall efficiency in the society and not just be the source of accumulation of wealth in few hands who have access towards education. Like we can see in our society, we have Beacon House, they are the brands. We have the private schools, they are brands and they are very expensive. And the access towards these institutions is very, very limited to a little portion of the society. And the design of complete education system is like we have designed O levels and then, for the SAT and GRE, only those individuals are going to pass the exams who have wealth or who have some resources. And other people who are from underprivileged background, they cannot afford the system. So they will be outnumbered or they will be out of the competition right from the start. And they will, well, this is not the fair distribution of, you can say, knowledge or fair distribution of a pie into society. So the real thing should be that knowledge should be accessible to every human being equally. The equity should be, it should be a fair distribution of a fair share of pie to everyone in the society, not to the selected people.
Yeah. So what you're saying is that the goal is to produce inequality, and I think this is true, although this is not what I had in mind in this question, but you are right. And actually, the Finland model is very interesting. They set out to do only one thing, and that one thing was to provide every child with the same educational opportunities. And I think that this is a valid goal for Islamic societies as well. That everyone should get the same opportunities for education. Although this is not enough because the educational system doesn't actually provide them with the right type of education. All right, Ambereen, you can answer.
Okay. Assalamu alaikum, Professor.
Alaikum assalam.
Obviously, we should produce the more like not human resources. I want to answer the second part. What has been the goal of education system through which you have acquired your education? So within Pakistan, when I acquired education from Fatma Jannah Women University. My 4 years of education was, unfortunately, it was not really centered on Islamic teachings and with this, orientation. But Alhamdulillah, I am blessed to have visited International Islamic University, Malaysia for my master degree, and then Ibn Khaldun University in Turkey. So both the institutions have a very good vision and mission. Ibn Khaldun University has this mission of intellectual independence. You should have intellectual independence to think outside the Western concepts. And in fact, we develop a course for undergraduate students to teach them at the very start of their academic journey at an undergraduate level that there are different school of thoughts, not just one school of thought, that is Western school of thought, and we should look from this single lens to the world problems. So, and again, I'm going to do my PhD from Islamic University, Malaysia, and it has a vision to make a Khalifa and Rahmatul lil Alameen, to be God-conscious individual, and especially Center of Islamic Economics has a vision to create the next generation of Islamic economists, so that they can solve, they can take the Islamic economics to a new direction, to fill the gaps that it has.
Yes. The Organization of Islamic Conference was created these two universities, Islamic University of Malaysia and Islamic University of Islamabad, which were given this mission of creating an Islamic style of education while accommodating the modern subjects. But I would say they haven't been very successful, but at least the intention behind the creation was correct. The reasons for their not lack of success are many, but it is much better than anything else that's available. Also, Ibn Khaldun under Rajab Shanturk was producing very, very powerful methodology for indigenous knowledge. So Ijazul Haq says that the person who's getting knowledge to be a better human being is at a disadvantage in this world. That is not true. He is at a disadvantage in terms of he will have a lesser salary, but he will have much more happiness in his life than you can with making money. And of course, he will enjoy the success of Yawm al-Qiyamah, which is the ultimate success. So let's go on to question 2. What are some of the important skills we need in life? How could we design an educational system which provides these skills? How much of the education that you received did you use in your real life? Could some other subject have been more useful? And could some other, yes. So that's those are the question 2. And so Hassan Askari has given a written answer. You want to give the answer in verbally? Oh, I see. You don't have a mic. All right, let me just read out what he says. You should prepare one for the struggles of this life. Should aim at producing human beings. And both have pros and cons. Let's see, what are we saying? The education I got was a 3rd grade copy of the West and vaguely aimed at producing human resource. Yes, this is true. Actually, what we are doing in the Islamic countries is a real tragedy and atrocity. You teach nothing of value because from Western standards, you produce really lame output. And of course, you give them nothing of Islamic value either. If you taught people Islamic values, just the thirst for knowledge. You say Islam is a search, is a uniquely focused on knowledge and on the search for knowledge. I mean, Allah Ta'ala starts the wahi with Iqra. So we should be reading every day of our lives to try to acquire more knowledge. And the hadith says that the search for knowledge, min al-mahdi ila al-lahdi, from the cradle to the grave. So the human being should be engaged in learning from the cradle to the grave. So this is the religion of Islam teaching, but what we are doing is really nothing like that at all in Islamic countries, and this is causing tremendous loss. All right, so any other person who wants to answer this question about what are the skills we need in life? Yes, Saira.
Assalamu alaikum. Can you hear me? Okay.
Yes, we can hear you.
Okay. So as I have experience of teaching to different level students, I have taught in a school as well. So as a teacher, what I observed is that we are not teaching, first of all, we are not teaching values to our coming generation. Plus, with that, we are not teaching them very important life skills, that we are not teaching them conflict resolution. That is a very important life skill. All we are doing is we want to supervise them. We want to give a very controlled environment. Seems like we are just giving them environment in which they can function, but in real life the environment is totally different. It is with we have conflicts to deal with, we have problems to deal with, we are not even teaching them how to enjoy happiness. So
Correct. Yes, go ahead. Oh, you got muted?
yes, this was from my side. This is what I observed,
Yeah.
because
Oh,
teaching
okay.
students of different level, you get this.
Yes, this is right. Basically, you know what a student needs to learn if he's a young student, 16, 17, 18, and they want to know what life is all about, how we should live, how we should behave. And this is not what they're being taught when you teach them calculus and chemistry and economics. And this is the most important thing. I mean, how should we behave towards others? How can we have good character? How can we have good conduct? How we can enjoy life to the maximum while staying within the hudud of Allah. All of these things are just not part of education. So, us, so if you reflect on what you have been taught, you know, all of us have gone through, 12 years of schooling and before college and then 4 years afterward. Most of the things, nearly all of the things, 99% of what we were taught have no relationship to anything we do in our real life. And it's completely useless. I mean, if you took a course in chemistry, you never used it in cooking and nowhere else. So we are teaching chemistry, physics, biology, but these are completely useless skills. Now, if you if you focused on the Islamic principle that you should teach useful knowledge, then when you teach biology, you should teach about how to grow plants in your garden, how to grow vegetables, and so on. So that would be useful. Similarly, for all subjects, you would try to think how this impacts on real life and how we can teach things which matter for us. This is how I actually constructed this course. I started to think about how statistics matters in real life and focus on that only. Forget about all the theory which is irrelevant. So that is basically what I have to say. If anything else, anybody else want to say? Hajra bint Hussain says that school is a glorified babysitting club. This may be true. Yes, Saif. Okay, this will be the last. We are coming to the end. Yes. Yes. 7:30 will be.
Can you hear me, sir?
Yes.
Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you.
Am I audible?
Yes.
Yes. So, I mean, I think the education should never produce human resources. I don't think there is any such thing as a human resource. This is an injustice. Of course, you need human beings that will succeed in the akhirah and also in the world. So obviously, we need to acquire some economic skills, etc. The education can't only be about character development, etc. And in my school, they taught me a value system. Actually, it was the secular value system, and they did fairly well at this, in the sense that they taught certain aspects like respecting everybody, listening. And we also had emphasis on art and activities. There was a week in the year where all studies were dropped, and we only did public speaking and sports, etc. And I found that actually in it, but of course the problem was there were a lot of wrong values that really cost me dearly, like not knowing how to interact with the opposite gender, and how to pick a partner, etc. And there they got a lot of things messed up. But what I later realized that they actually ended up inadvertently doing better than many so-called Islamic schools, because they taught certain values through sort of unusual means, not classroom teaching, that had more in common, but they didn't frame it in the language and in the way that the Quran and the Hadith are taught. So it took me a long time to put two and two together. Whereas many Islamic schools that have, like we have already discussed, have gone the way of this heavily graded systems, only imparting skills, etc.
Yes.
So yeah, it was hard to piece it all together, but finally I got there.
Right. All right. Let's take Hajo Naveed, and I will then answer Ijazul Haq's question later in summarizing.
Assalamu alaikum, sir.
Yes. Wa alaikum assalam.
There is a
Yes,
scholar in the name of Muhammad bin Johar who has argued that when we say that we are Islamizing knowledge, the ization terminology in itself refer to the power. So when we don't have the power, this activity is just a waste of time, and we are not going to get anything from it. I think he's more inclined towards the Michel Foucault thoughts, because he argued in his article about those things, that in terms of power structure, the Islamization of knowledge needs to consider that power dynamics also. What's your take on it?
All right. Well, you see, Foucault says that knowledge is power and power is knowledge. They are the same. So those with power can impose knowledge upon others. But if we change the knowledge, this is then a power move. And this is what we are doing in this course. I am changing the discourse. And this is what I have hoped for from my students, that they can spread this. And actually, this is happening in the sense that my students I have now all over the world in various institutions, and they are spreading these ideas. Nobody can control what a teacher says in the class to his students. So even if there has been a syllabus which says, okay, this is what you have to teach, how you teach it. So this also answers Zafar, the question of Ijaz, that should we leave teaching secular subjects? Well, first of all, you have to understand that if somebody is going to be a chemist, then he needs to learn chemistry. But if somebody is not going to be a chemist, then he doesn't need to learn chemistry. So teaching all of the sciences, this is because science has become the religion of the West. We don't need to teach all of it. If somebody has we need to teach general philosophy to all students, but we don't need to teach specialized elements of science and calculus and mathematics to those who don't have need for this. So that's first thing. But the second thing is also that, yes, okay, so if somebody is developing, if we need to teach chemistry, science, physics, etc., biology, these can also be taught via Islamic style and Islamic methodology. This has to do with the intention of the student for learning and the methodology. So when you teach biology, you teach it as the miracles of Allah. Watson and Crick, who invented the double helix, there is a quote by one of the authors that anybody who looks at the way that this is constructed can say that this did not happen at random. Somebody must have created this, even though he was an atheist. But he could not accept God, so he said that since this could not have been created by accident, so he said that there is some alien civilization on some other planet which is advanced, and they sent a rocket ship with some genetic seed material which got evolution started on this earth. So even though this is absurd and bizarre theory, this is the only theory which you can have if you say that there is no God. So there is secular subjects need to be taught, but only in limited amounts to people who need them, and we can develop, and those subjects which need to be taught can be done in using Islamic methodology and style. So I think we will conclude here. It's 7:30. So Subhana Rabbika Rabbil Izzati Amma Yasifun wa Salamun alal Mursalin walhamdulillahi Rabbil Alamin. Next lecture will be in 2 weeks on chapter 3, next Sunday, inshallah. See you there.